All right, happy Friday, friends. So Disney's Snow White, the young actress that's playing Snow White, rather, Rachel Zelger, has offered up an apology after wishing harm to all Trump supporters. And it's pretty clear that her apology is being forced by Disney to save the film, which is supposed to be released in March. Plus, the left is in panic mode about RFK Jr.'s appointment. I mean, truly freaking out. People are threatening to quit the FDA. Who wants to tell them that that's exactly what we want to happen? We'd like you all to quit your jobs and for the FDA to be shuttered, if we're being frank. But first, former CNN pundit Marc Lamont Hill and I clashed again. We've been actually clashing a lot over the years, a long history of clashing, particularly over the topic of transgenderism. So let's get started. Welcome back to Candace. Let's start with an Elon Musk tweet. Elon Musk tweeted this. First thing this morning, he wrote, "The political party closest to the views of the moderates will win. That party is currently the Republicans." And you know what? I think he's absolutely right. He is on point. I think the single biggest issue that moved moderate voters to the Republican side was the issue of transgenderism. Years ago, because I was way ahead of the curve, and everybody was hating me, back in 2020, I had former CNN pundit Marc Lamont Hill on my show, which was then on PragerU. I want you to keep in mind when I show you this clip that at this point in time, Marc Lamont Hill was a professor at Temple University. So he was qualified to teach students. You send your kid to university, and they could have encountered Marc Lamont Hill at Temple University campus. He was an educator, assumption that he was quite educated. I asked him some very basic biological questions about the differences between males and females, and he seemed to get a little bit tripped up. Here is how he responded. It has now come to a point where if you say that only women can give birth, you are called a bigot. That is crazy. That's nuts. So if you say, like J.K. Rowling did when she got canceled by the Harry Potter cast, that only women can menstruate, okay? Can men get their period? Can you help my audience? Can men get their period?
Some can.
Okay.
Yeah, trans men. There are some trans men who can. And again, I think it's okay to ask interesting questions. I think it's okay to have intellectual debates. But I don't think that we ever want to enter a space where we deny the humanity. And I'm not saying you are, but to deny the humanity or the experiences of other people.
You could see he just honestly, I was rendered into silence, just very much clearly stated that he believed that men could get their period. And I was just aghast at the fact that I was sitting across from a university professor who said that unflinchingly. And his point there is all about compassion. So that is really the debate. Have we been, and when I say we, I mean conservatives, have we been denying humanity? Or have others been denying reality? Well, I can tell you that social media companies took his side in that debate over the years. They began mandating compassion, really. Compassion. I'm putting that in air quotations because that's always the excuse. It's about being compassionate and understanding. And on YouTube, as just one example, you could and still can receive strikes and lose your entire platform if you misgender someone like Dylan Mulvaney, as just one example. If you do not refer to Dylan Mulvaney with the correct pronouns, you will get hit with a strike for hate. Or Biden's former nuclear waste official, remember this individual, Sam Brinton? Yeah, well, the message from social media companies was quite clear. Their lifestyles are not problematic. Our interpretations of their lifestyles are what is actually problematic. So you fast forward 4 years to now, and Donald Trump beats Kamala Harris handily, and suddenly the topic of transgenderism is again being debated. People are wondering, did such speech mandates ultimately help or hurt Kamala's cause? Because there were a ton of them. Fact checkers, the police, the moral police, the feelings police. Did supporting transgendered athletes and women losing out to biological men in sports competitions actually work to bring people over to the Democratic Party? Well, in the immediate wake of the election results, I offered that transgenderism may have been a bridge too far for many moderates, like my sisters, who voted Republican for the very first time. But again, Marc Lamont Hill and I, when we were matched up on Piers Morgan, we just could not find common ground on this assessment. Take a listen. My sisters were on the left, and this is the first election that they voted for Trump. They're from Connecticut. dyed-in-the-wool Democrats, I guess you could say, and they moved away. And the trans issue was the #1 reason that they did.
Yeah.
What they said was happening in the school system made them fearful. They have sons. They thought it was completely crazy and bizarre that they're insisting upon trying to make toddlers. My sisters have toddlers believe that they can be anything that they want and that they're non-binary. They truly believe the left has gone crazy. And they say, I didn't leave the left left me. And that is an accurate statement to make because they cannot just see things that are just so plainly obvious. They are trying to criminalize the idea that a woman is a woman and you can't just become a woman because you feel a certain way on the inside. And the right, like I'm doing right now, I will just say it as it is, right? You are not a woman. I am sorry that you are suffering from a mental disorder. If you were suffering from any other mental disorder, I would treat you the same way. I want you to get better. But because you are suffering from a mental disorder does not mean that I have to pretend that I have a mental disorder and that I see things differently. I don't.
There was a New York Times report today that said that one of the most effective Trump ads during the presidential race towards the end was the one where he had Kamala Harris saying, she'll call you they, them, I'll call you you, or whatever it was. And that turned out to be, to the Trump campaign team's surprise, one of their most effective ads of the whole race, apparently, which suggests it is a much bigger issue than some Democrats clearly want people to think.
I'm not sure anyone, and again, I need to see the data to speak to this, just as we all should. I don't think anyone is voting for the president based on this issue. It could be an issue that tips the scale, but I think most people aren't voting for president based on this issue. I just don't think it's the priority issue of most people.
Mothers are.
I do. Again, they may be. I'd like to see the evidence of that. I can't say definitively one way or the other, but it's never happened before in any election, so this would be the first time. So if it's true, just show me the evidence, and I'm happy to learn from it.
Well, we are happy to teach you from it. We got the data, we got the evidence that Marc was looking for, and it turns out that I was correct. Exit polling proved that trans mania moved moderates over to the Republican side. I'm going to show you this chart, which was done by Blueprint. Blueprint is a new public opinion research initiative that's designed to take a sober, detailed look at what Democrats need to do to win in 2024. And so they were actually polling people, and what you can see, and we're going to get closer here, is that they are just asking questions to voters, all voters, swing voters, black voters, swing voters that chose Trump, and Latino voters about the topics that they cared the most about. So what you're seeing in that chart that's dark green means that this was the most important thing to all voters. And number 3, you look at that column, number 3, you see Kamala Harris is focused more on cultural issues like transgendered issues rather than helping the middle class. So yes, this was a very important issue to people that were moderate, to people that were on the left, and it brought them over. The Dems caring more about social causes than worrying about reality, gas prices, groceries. And by the way, in case you missed it, here is the Trump campaign ad that proved to be the single most effective ad of the entire Trump campaign. Take a look.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
It's hard to believe, but it's true. Even the liberal media was shocked Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens.
Every transgender inmate would have access.
Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you. That worked. Bottom line, lessons learned. People care deeply about this issue. People don't like their children being indoctrinated. They also don't like being called names for not wanting their children to be indoctrinated. So these people, like my sisters, are now seeking out independent media voices that reflect their ideas rather than shame them, making them think that there's something wrong or backwards about what they view to be just common sense. And by the way, that is what sets them upon the slippery slope, my friends, because then while they're listening to those independent voices, maybe about just one topic like transgenderism, they then learn about other topics that they didn't even realize they may have been indoctrinated about. And I'll give you a perfect example. So this morning, I always talk to my sisters on the phone when I go for a walk. I'm talking to my little sister on the phone, and we're speaking about this, and I'm not kidding when I say that I broke her brain when I started speaking to her about the truth regarding the Laramie Project, the Matthew Shepard story. Now, I'm just going to riff on this in case you guys are not familiar with who Matt Shepard was or what the Laramie Project was. I don't know if this was just Northeastern indoctrination, but essentially when I was in high school, we were all made to learn the story in our classrooms about a gay kid named Matthew Laramie, a gay guy named Matthew Laramie, who was killed back in 1998. In fact, the drama class, the drama students rather, put on a play called The Laramie Project. There was even a day where students were supposed to be silent all day. Like it was supposed to be this like silent, we are all recognizing this hate crime that happened to a gay man, and you were supposed to wear a certain color and be quiet to sort of honor this horrific thing that happened to Matthew Shepard. I am talking focused indoctrination in the classroom. And anybody that didn't participate in it was like, what's wrong with you? Do you hate gay people? Like, why aren't you choosing to be silent today and participating in this? Don't you know what happened to Matthew Shepard? Then you all have to go watch the play, The Laramie Project, to learn about what happened. And here's a story that we were told, okay? So back in 1998, this took place in Laramie, Wyoming. Allegedly, the worst anti-gay hate crime took place in American history. There was this young man named Matthew Shepard who was homosexual, and he was beaten by two assailants. I'm showing you them right now, Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson. They pistol whipped him with a gun, then they tied him to a fence in freezing conditions, and they set fire to him before leaving him to die, all because he was gay. Except, apparently, that is not the entire truth. Check out this headline in The Guardian, because it's quite shocking to read this headline and to read what they chose to put under it. The truth behind America's most famous gay hate murder. And then they write, Matthew Shepard's horrific death at the hands of redneck homophobes shocked America and changed its laws. Now, a different truth is emerging. But does it matter? I love that. Julie Bindel was like, okay, so now we're learning the truth, but does it even matter? We got laws changed. Plays are being done. We have kids being indoctrinated. Does it actually matter what the truth is? Well, I'm going to tell you what the truth is, because I realized my sister didn't know it. So there might be tons of people who are first-time listeners to the Candace Owens show, and maybe they don't know it. But yeah, the lie was actually exposed by a gay journalist. His name is Stephen Jimenez, and he investigated the Matthew Laramie case for 13 years, Matthew Shepard case, pardon me, for 13 years, interviewed more than 100 people that were connected to the case. And then he published his findings in a book entitled The Book of Matt. And boy, he did not expect the hate that he received, not just from Guardian writers, but from left-wing writers. How could you do this as a gay man? How could you publish this? How could you publish the truth? Well, what did he discover? Well, this is directly from that Guardian article. Jimenez found that Matthew Shepard was addicted to and dealing crystal meth and had dabbled in heroin. He also took significant sexual risks and was being pimped alongside Aaron McKinney, one of his killers, with whom he had had occasional sexual encounters with. He was HIV positive at the time of his death. Matthew's drug abuse and the fact that he knew one of his killers prior to the attack was never explored in court. Neither was the rumor that the killers knew that he, Matthew Shepard, had access to a shipment of crystal meth with a street value of $10,000, which they wanted to steal. Jimenez, the journalist, told other journalists this regarding his book. He said, quote, "The view was that homophobic rednecks walked into a bar and saw an obviously gay man with money and targeted him and beat him to death for that reason. But that isn't what happened. Nothing in this book takes away from the iniquity and brutality of the crime or the culpability of his murderers, but we owe Matthew and other young men like him the truth." And what is the truth? The truth is that Aaron, the murderer, and Matthew, the victim, had a friendship. They had been involved sexually. They bought and sold drugs from each other. That complicates the original story of two strangers walking into a bar and targeting Matthew, someone that they did not know because he was gay. Are you comprehending what I am saying here to you guys? They got laws passed. They blamed this, of course, as always, on rednecks, conservatives. They walked into this bar, they saw a gay guy, and they decided to kill him and chain him to a fence just because he was gay. We're going to leave out the part that actually the killer knew him and that actually the killer himself was also a homosexual who was sleeping with him and who knew that he had crystal meth on him because he was also dealing. But the police officer who found Matthew Shepard's shoes, his truck, and his wallet, and wound up arresting one of his killers, was a man named Officer Flint Waters. There's a photo of him right here. Waters praised the book, saying this, quote, "I spoke to Waters," this is what the journalist said, "I spoke to Waters, who has since retired from the police, having seen him praise the book on Matt on social media. He said this, "I believe to this day that McKinney and Henderson were trying to find Matthew's house so they could steal his drugs. It was fairly well known in the Laramie community that McKinney wouldn't be the one that was striking out of a sense of homophobia. Some of the officers I worked with had caught him in a sexual act with another man, so it didn't fit. None of that ever made any sense." How crazy is that to think what the world was like before social media? We're talking about 1998. The fact that they were able to perpetuate this hoax on the public in order to actually fulfill their initiatives of wanting to get hate crime laws passed. This horrific murder, and like I said, no question, the journalist is correct, this was a horrific murder. But this murder happened by a gay man and a person that he had been having a homosexual relationship with, who he shared drugs with and sold drugs with from time to time. It's sickening to look back and to realize that we too were indoctrinated. My sister coming undone about this, going like, I thought it was just them that were being indoctrinated about the trans stuff, and that's why I moved over to the conservative side. Once you start with one issue and you work your way backward, you realize that our mainstream media has always been dishonest with us, with the explicit aim of just trying to jam through policies, to jam through candidates. There's always a big lie that is established, and anybody that questions that lie, they come for. But guess what? It's a different time. It's a different day. People are waking up. I'm so happy that I get to play a small part in that. You know, I'm so happy that people are beginning to question this and going, okay, what really is going on with this community? Who is behind this that's pushing this upon our children? And if it takes us getting into trouble for telling the truth, as we have been this entire year, I'm happy to do that, because I think in the end, truth wins. All right, guys, before we get into Rachel Zelger, I have so much to say about that. I just want to remind you guys about preborn, because in many ways this past election brought abortion to the forefront. There are many states who have radicalized abortion, and tragically thousands of babies will continue to lose their lives, which is why preborn, the nation's largest pro-life organization, is on the front lines for at-risk babies and mothers who are facing unplanned pregnancies. Preborn's network of clinics are positioned in the highest abortion rate areas in the country. They are equipping these clinics with the resources they need to save these precious lives and provide compassionate support to mothers for up to 2 years after birth, all at no cost. Preborn knows that when a woman sees her baby on ultrasound, she is twice as likely to choose life, because of this, our year-end goal is to sponsor 20,000 ultrasounds, saving over 15,000 lives. So I hope you'll help us reach that goal. It costs just $28 to sponsor one ultrasound. Whatever the gift, whether large or small, it will go towards a life. And now Preborn will match your gift, doubling the amount. To donate, just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby. Or you can go to preborn.com/Candace. That's preborn.com/Candace. All right. Now, I've got two fake apologies for you today. One is from Rachel Zelger, and one is from Nicole Scherzinger. Let's actually start with Rachel, because I really was just on one last night with this. So in case you missed yesterday's episode, essentially, there has been this problematic star named Rachel Zelger. She's 23 years old. She's very young, obviously, and she has a huge platform because she was sort of made famous by Steven Spielberg. I think he cast her for the West Side Story. She's talented. People like her. And of course, they get a platform and they just start talking-ish, especially to conservatives. So she published this in the wake. And by the way, it was a 4-part series, vitriolic series that was aimed at Trump supporters. And she published this, which I just want to show you. I find myself speechless in the midst of this, yada, yada, yada. This sentence here is quite shocking now in the retrospect. I didn't catch this yesterday. She wrote, leading us towards a world that will be hard to raise my daughter in. Leading us towards a world that will force her to have a baby that she doesn't want. Leading us towards a world that is fearful. So just to hit pause on that part before we get to the bottom, people brought to my attention the fact that she doesn't have a daughter, okay? So her whole bit, she's so angry about this idea that her daughter can't have abortion. She's speaking about her future daughter, her someday daughter. Like, she is distraught and coming undone because the daughter that she doesn't have, if she chooses life, because obviously she's so pro-abortion, maybe she's just going to abort her own offspring. She is creating this message and having a meltdown because her daughter that doesn't exist might come of age, might have unprotected sex, and might therefore get pregnant and not want that pregnancy and then won't be able to abort that child. The layers of privilege here, you just got to peel them back like an onion. The layers of privilege to arrive at a person that is coming mentally undone by this utterly implausible situation that she has laid before our feet. Like, she doesn't even have a daughter. I was so shocked. I assumed reading this, because she was so angry, that she must have actually had a daughter. I was like, well, and I said yesterday on the show, I was like, what is her daughter? Like 3 years old? I mean, if she's 23, how old could her daughter be? 6, maybe? No, her daughter doesn't exist. This is what we're dealing with in Hollywood. They just come up with stories in their head and then victimize themselves from those stories. Her poor, non-existent daughter is what led her to post this. So anyways, then she goes on to essentially say that she hopes that Trump and his supporters never have any peace, that it's just an ever-going disturbance in all of our lives, because God forbid we don't understand this predicament of her imaginary child. You monsters. All of you are monsters watching this show that you did not when you went to the polls consider Rachel Zegler's non-existent child. Like, I think I'm done. I'm done with Trump supporters too. You angry, awful, backwards people. Consider the imaginary people. Okay, so obviously this caused an absolute firestorm because she went on and on. It was super nasty in these posts. And Disney came down on her. And I want to let you know why people are especially upset about this, because I also forgot about this. I mentioned it at the end of the show yesterday, but I do want to draw to your attention more closely that Gina Carano got fired from Disney. So the same company that is paying Rachel Zegler to be Snow White fired Gina Carano the first time around when things were happening with COVID and they were kind of treating the unvaxxed like, I don't know, like we were all crazy and should be second-class citizens. This is what Gina Carano posted that got her fired from Disney, okay? She wrote, Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Sad face. Because history is edited. This is a quote, by the way, it's not coming from her. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views? End quotation. So her point here is that we're becoming so hateful about political views that we're starting to hate our neighbors, and that's not good. History tells us that's not good. Disney saw this and they said, you're fired. Okay, Rachel is now explicitly calling for Trump supporters to be harmed, to experience disturbances throughout their entire life, and it's crickets. And so obviously, they then put pressure on her to apologize. And here's what she offered up on Instagram last night, which really set me off. She wrote, "Hi, everyone. I would like to sincerely apologize for the election post I shared on my Instagram last week. I let my emotions get the best of me. Hatred and anger have caused us to move further and further away from peace and understanding, and I am sorry that I contributed to negative discourse. This week has been emotional for so many of us, but I firmly believe that everyone has the right to their opinion, even when it differs from my own. I am committed to contributing positively toward a better tomorrow." Now, let's be very clear. The only reason she's offering up this apology, it's been a week, okay? So she wasn't like she flew into a rage and woke up next morning calm, okay? She meant what she said. She said what she said, did not care, did not expect conservatives to dig this up and start calling for a boycott of Disney. And once they started saying boycott Disney Snow White, she then went, uh-oh, because some executive called her and basically said, hey, have you noticed the map? Everybody in this country votes red. And you're on the side of people that are aborting their kids. They're on the side of people that have the kids who are watching Disney movies and are likely to come watch the film because they're watching Snow White. So the family side is the conservative side. We're making this movie likely because it's a pitch to families. And so maybe you posting that you wished all of those families harm for keeping their children wasn't the best idea. It's a weak apology. She doesn't mean it. And I do not think, therefore, that we should formally accept it. I really don't. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't find it in our hearts to forgive her. Of course we should. So many of us, myself, we're Christians. Okay, we forgive you, but we also know that you're not actually apologetic, because if you were, you would give us a little more action on this. I think that when they do stuff like this, it's not enough for them to say, hey, we want your dollars, because that's what this is. He's basically saying, I actually do hate you. I do think you're backwards, but I also need your money to sustain my career. I personally will now never watch a film that she is in at all until she does some meaningful work, actually goes and meets people that drive trucks, the farmers, the ranchers, the people that make it so her life is so privileged. I mean, this girl probably doesn't even know how her Amazon packages arrive, right? She's probably just up in Beverly Hills buying whatever she wants online, and she resents the people that make her life possible. She calls someone when the toilet's broken. She resents the plumber. She resents the electrician. She resents the people that work with their hands because she's never had to think about their lives. She's never had to think about what it means to not be able to afford groceries. She's never had to think about what it means when you buy a couple of items, it's $100 and you've got tons of kids and you're being told to just accept that because your money has to go overseas. And so I just don't accept this. And I'm so happy that we are starting to see culturally things are changing. And the only reason it is changing, by the way, is because we have to say that this is our bottom line. We have to hold the line. We are not going to see Snow White. We are off the Snow White chain. I've been off the Disney chain in general, but like we are fully now boycotting this movie. And like I said, until she means what she says, with a little bit of action, until she says, I met this individual down in Tennessee, Texas, Kentucky, and Oklahoma, and I realized that I'm an ass. Because that's what she is. And I hate to say it, but that's exactly what she is. She has no experience with real life. Hollywood is a bubble. But I am so happy to say, ladies and gentlemen, that it's a bubble that is being popped. People do not like or listen to these out-of-touch individuals anymore. So the left, the Democrats, they're going to have to think of a new card because when we start saying no to Disney, Beyonce, and truthfully, I do believe that justice for Gina Carano would mean that this Rachel girl was fired. When we're saying no to Taylor Swift, it means that they've got nothing left in the arsenal. That was their entire arsenal. Celebrities, Hollywood films, and now we're saying, you know what, we don't need it. We just prefer cheap groceries. It's amazing. By the way, another celebrity that offered an apology, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous, Nicole Scherzinger. If you're not familiar with Nicole Scherzinger, she's a singer. She was in the group, the Pussycat Dolls. They were very big. I think in the 2000s, they were very big. And she apparently follows Russell Brand, which isn't shocking because Russell Brand, first and foremost, spent the majority of his career being on the left, and he is also was in Hollywood, was in tons of movies. So yeah, he's got a pretty big audience and probably has tons of friends in Hollywood. And Russell Brand posted this on Instagram. He wrote, "Make Jesus first again," which makes sense because Russell Brand obviously was recently baptized. He's using his platform to speak about Jesus Christ, to speak about what brought him to his faith. He's praying the rosary every single day. This, of course, is a completely non-controversial post unless you're a leftist and your mind just goes crazy when you see a red hat, period. You don't even read what it says. The hat could say anything. It could be a hat for a sports team, but these people just have an emotional breakdown and they go crazy and they go, oh, what about my imaginary children they won't be able to abort their imaginary children? Like, this is how their brains work. I'm telling you, they're not right in the head. So the left had a meltdown because Nicole Scherzinger saw that hat, make a hat about putting Jesus Christ first, these demonic individuals. And she wrote this under it. She wrote, "Where do I get this hat? Prayer hands and a heart." Oh my gosh. Oh my, what? Cancel Nicole Scherzinger. What? Is she team like bring Jesus back? Like, what is she, like team Easter here? What's going on here? How dare she? She's in Hollywood. We worship the devil. We worship ourselves. We're a pagan faith here in Hollywood. How dare this pussycat doll? Does she want to lose everything? Does she want to lose every contact that she has? You do not get on here and start talking about putting Jesus first, especially when it's put on a red hat. We all know what the red hat really means. And I'm sad to report that she actually bucked under pressure. And it really upsets me, obviously, because, I mean, you guys know where I stand on the Christ is King bit. Not 1 inch, not one apology, not one, I don't care what backwards flips you're doing a limbo. You're like this, playing all sorts of weird games, trying to get me to see your view about how maybe sometimes it's not the right time. Shut up. Shut up. We're saying Christ is King. We're saying Merry Christmas. If you don't like it, shut up and step aside. I'm being serious. Like, not 1 inch on the Jesus Christ, okay? Not 1 inch. But she obviously folded because she's in Hollywood and she therefore has different masters that she has to serve. And that's sad to say that because there is above Jesus Christ. No, you're bugging. You're bugging, Nicole. She posted this apology on Instagram. Sure, "I deeply apologize for the hurt caused by my recent engagement with some social media posts. When I commented on these posts, I made the mistake of not realizing that they could be easily interpreted as being politically related, and I apologize to anyone who understandably reached that conclusion." understandably reach that conclusion. Then she goes on, many presumptions are being drawn which do not reflect who I am, what I stand for, or who I voted for. Many of the marginalized communities feeling hurt and concerned by the results of the presidential election are people that I care about most. I stand with them as I always have throughout my life and career. If you know me, you know that. Like so many others, in times of adversity and uncertainty, I turned to my faith. I believed that the posts I engaged with were about encouraging people to choose love and faith, putting Jesus Christ first. For me, Christ embodies peace, compassion, hope, and above all, unconditional love, especially for those who may feel it the least right now. I come from a place of love, and I will always support values that bring us closer together. It's so important we come together with compassion and love one another more now than ever, Nicole. Yeah, you can say that. You can say that for the Lord, man. I don't know what to tell you. To me, people that will buck on their faith in this way so easily because of a peer pressure campaign, like your cross to bear is you just have to just say nothing when people freak out over a hat that says to put Christ first. Any person reacting in that way is possessed by a demon. Don't care who it is. Don't care if they're purporting to be a conservative and they're trying to spin it. It's like, no, you're just possessed by a demon. So I was not happy to see that. Two, as I said, fake apologies. She's just more concerned with getting invited to the right parties. And I think it's the wrong perspective to have. But I'll leave you guys to it and see what you guys have to say in the chat. I'm going to take a quick minute here to talk to you about our store over at Sticker Mule. It's packed with awesome Candace Owens merch, including stickers, t-shirts, keychains, buttons, and more. You can even buy a Candace temporary tattoo. With Christmas right around the corner, it's a perfect place to get your friends or family members who are also fans of the show the perfect stocking stuffer, because like you, they have impeccable taste. So go to stickermule.com/Candace and check it out now. A big portion of the sales will go directly to the Candace Show, supporting our mission to empower communities and promote free thought. So whether you want to show your support or just grab some cool gear, we got you covered. From Christ is King t-shirts to conspiracy theorist stickers, head over to Sticker Mule for all things Candace. Once again, go to stickermule.com/Candace. You can check that out right now. Okay, so we left you yesterday with news that Trump had nominated RFK Jr. to the HHS, pardon me. And obviously and predictably, the left is having an absolute meltdown about a person that actually wants to make America healthy again. Check out this clip from CNN. It's incredible.
Steer clear of politics, but this really isn't about politics, because this is somebody who has been, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has been pushing quackery, who has been pushing lies, who has been pushing conspiracy theories. You've been talking to experts in the health community, the medical community, preparing for him, RFK Jr., to be given some sort of role in health. What have they said to you?
Well, you know, it's not often that the entire medical and public health community is going to be in lockstep on something, but they're pretty close on this in terms of their significant concerns, horror even. Somebody said to me today, I can't think of any single individual who'd be more damaging to public health than RFK. Keep in mind, I think if the reporting's correct and the job is the Secretary of Health and Human Services, that comprises the CDC. We just got through this pandemic. Comprises the FDA, comprises the NIH. He's talked about wanting to basically strip funding for infectious diseases overall. Again, just coming out of this pandemic with concerns about other viruses and things out there. The challenge, I think, is that at the same time, there is this whole idea that we're not a very healthy country. We spend $4.5 trillion on health care, and we have some of the worst outcomes in the developed world. And our food supply and other things are partly to blame, things that he's talked about. So there's these kernels of agreement with regard to the medical establishment and the public health establishment in particular. But then there's these other things, like Caitlin was just talking about, that they're not alternative views, they are false views. People often say, well, these are alternative views. They're not. People say, well, look, I think maybe vaccines could be linked to autism. Fair enough. That was an issue that came up, and it was studied in these large studies, global studies involving hundreds of thousands of kids who were followed for over a decade to see if there was in fact a link. Some of the studies actually showed that you were more likely to have autism if you were not vaccinated. But the point being that issues are raised, issues are studied, and yet they still keep coming up. And I think that's one of the big concerns. That's a metaphor, I think, for other things that people are concerned about with him.
Cry harder. I just love it because now that I am so awake to Big Pharma, and I have been for years, I've been on my journey now for more than 10 years. So hearing their buzzwords, these CIA words, conspiracy theorist, quack, a quack doctor. I mean, they sat down and studied this, and they wanted to figure out how to remove health from the industry because, like he said, it's a medical establishment and it's making people sick. It's making people sick. We know this just from the time that we were kids to now. We look at the stuff that's in our food, the stuff that we ate, and we go, what the heck? Who okayed this? Who okayed Monsanto? So you have lost respect. People don't believe the medical establishment anymore. So what are they trying to do? Fight and keep people that we actually have faith in out of the office. And so yes, suddenly all these people who work at the FDA said that they were going to quit. Please do. We want you gone. There has never been a decade where they told the truth, you guys. And that is why I loved doing my Shot in the Dark series, which I told you we're going to bring back next year. We put the first 2 episodes for free on our locals page. But I loved doing this series so much because I get to go back and show you how many times when he says, oh, there have been studies and there's global agreement. Yeah, there was studies and global agreement that cigarettes were good for you. You had doctors on advertisements encouraging patients to smoke cigarettes while they were pregnant. Yes, pregnant. Oh, it's good for you. Mom, have a cigarette. They were smoking cigarettes in the hospital while they were giving birth. The studies show. There was universal agreement. How could you doubt it? What about DDT poisoning? Also known as the polio crisis of the 1940s, which was making people temporarily paralytic. No fleas on me, DDT advertising. Studies show. Doctors agree. Global studies. I mean, it's every single decade when you learn about syphilis, when they were giving people syphilis, allowing people to die from syphilis. Black Americans know this best. There is no reason to trust these people. They have always been lying. They have always been wrong. They cannot present to you even one decade when money and corruption and advertisement and lies was not synonymous with the FDA. So yes, we are cool. We are so cool with you guys all quitting, okay? I hope you get abolished. I hope the CDC and the FDA get abolished. I was saying, like, I'm so crunchy. I like when things are not FDA approved. I like being able to rely on myself and being able to rely on people and going locally and going organically. I mean, they're spraying our crops with stuff that is banned in Europe. It's banned in Europe. They don't even have the same fast food as us in Europe. And this is one of the things about marrying a person from the UK. My husband's obviously British. Going over there and traveling so much, and then you really get to see just how corrupt America is, just how sick mentally and physically we are, the things that they are not allowed to put in their food, the certain countries, like, for an example, Japan, which won't give the MMR vaccine because they kept saying that kids were getting sick and there was tons of proof. But over here, he says, no, we looked into it. There's no links to autism. I don't know why Japan's doing that. Japan's lying. You are no longer going to be capable of gaslighting the public, and your problem, the way that you got here, is you just kept lying and getting caught. So you're flapping around and you're desperate, and you think that if you just keep calling people quacks and conspiracy theorists, that somehow we're going to turn around and go, yes, please, let me roll up my sleeve. Give me all 78 vaccines, sir, and I'll take a flu shot every year, sir. It's a pass for me and my supporters and people that are waking up to just the establishment in general. The fact that you call it a medical establishment, like we're just the authority on these things. We lie all the time, but we're just the authority. Goodbye. Sorry, you guys, you really are. We are just seeing the end of an entire era, and it is just so beautiful to see. It makes me so happy. I am like giddy. Cannot wait for these people to get into office. And then we know they're going to try to block them. They're going to try to block this. But let me tell you something. When we get to these Senate confirmations, we are going to know who is who in the Republican Party. Like, okay, we are going to know who is blackmailed, who is financially controlled, what lobbying groups control them. Because let me tell you, Big Pharma has more lobbyists in D.C. than we have congressmen. The absolute most money that is spent in D.C. is spent by Big Pharma lobbyists. That's the number one lobbying group is Big Pharma, followed by AIPAC, okay? So when we get to these Senate confirmation hearings and we start seeing which one of these senators starts trying to say, oh, no, let's not have him there, we're going to exactly know who we need to get out of office. We will be paying and covering this. We will be paying paying close attention. I also want to show you guys this because apparently wanting to tackle the health problem is in the Kennedy blood, right? Here is JFK, President JFK Jr. talking about fat kids. Take a listen.
There's nothing, I think, more unfortunate than to have soft, chubby, fat-looking children who go to watch their school play basketball every Saturday and regard that as their week's exercise. I hope that all of you will join, and everybody in the United States, to make sure that our children participate fully in a vigorous and adventurous life which is possible for them in this very rich country of ours.
Soft, chubby, fat children, beware, okay? Beware. We got a Kennedy in there, or we should have him confirmed in there, and you have been put on notice. Okay, I got to show you this random story that has nothing to do with anything, but it is just amazing, and it will make you laugh on this Friday before I get into your comments, because it's just incredible. So listen, times are hard. I think we can all agree times are hard. People are looking for new ways to make money, and a group of people have been arrested. I will tell you that. It starts with that. A group of people, 4 people, have been arrested, and they have been charged for insurance fraud. And the way that they committed this act of insurance fraud is unlike anything I have seen before. I'm just going to let you guys listen to the news clip. Take a listen.
Their cars were damaged, and bear attacks are now in jail. NBC4's Kristen Cosner is live in Lake Arrowhead with more on what investigators are calling Operation Bear Claw. Christian.
That's right. The details in this case are very interesting because we have someone that dressed up in a bear costume and staged a fake bear attack. As a result, 4 people have been arrested for scamming several insurance companies. And today, I have to tell you, several neighbors are speaking out about what happened. Watch carefully as a California insurance claim reported a bear entered their 2010 Rolls-Royce Ghost and destroyed it. The California Department of Insurance releasing the surveillance video captured on Beachfront Drive the evening of January 28, 2024.
There's a bear breaking into cars. Why haven't we heard about this?
Devin Skaskofsky lives on this quiet Lake Arrowhead street and was taken back about the attack.
We're all connected. The neighbors sharing their ring footage, if there is a bear spotted or a mountain lion or deer or coyotes or anything. And so we're always on top of it.
The state investigating the claim after 2 similar but separate claims were filed to other insurance companies, including a 2015 and a 2022 Mercedes. Each claim stating a bear attack and video.
I haven't actually ever heard of a bear attack up here, but I have seen coyotes. It just sounds unusual. But again, there is wildlife here, so.
Investigators say a biologist with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife confirmed the bear was fake. They say the alleged animal didn't leave a trace like saliva, urine, or hair, and the scratches didn't match the animal's claw. 4 people from LA County were arrested according to the state after a search warrant revealed this bear costume was found inside their home, which they believe was used in the scam.
I am sorry, but I have to respect that hustle, okay? I got to pour some out for our fallen homies. If they're in prison for this. This is elaborate. They only messed up because they had to obviously contact a bear expert, and they just didn't get the, they should have left some bear urine, okay, and some bear hair, and I do think that in the future they'll be able to get that insurance scam down. So I'm sorry. Times are tough. Times are tough. I got to pour some out for our fallen homies. All right, guys, before I get into your comments, the Fed has dropped interest rates, so you need to call my friends at American Financing. Now is the perfect time to consolidate debt and reduce your monthly expenses. A lot of us have been forced to use credit cards because of the ridiculous prices at the grocery store, power, and even childcare. The debt can really get expensive with credit card rates being so high, but with mortgage rates finally dropping, now is the time to wipe that debt out. American Financing is helping homeowners just like you save over $800 a month on average. They're even closing some in as fast as 10 days. If you start today, you may delay 2 mortgage payments. There are no upfront fees to find out how much you can save, so call American Financing today at 800-795-1210. That's 800-795-1210, or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. All right, guys, right at the top here, I want to just shout out Tracy Castor because your husband contacted me on Monect and asked me to shout you out, and I said that I would. Also, guys, I did want to show you this because the liberals have lost their minds. Look at this. Somebody actually got this tattoo. It's been posted onto Instagram. She tattooed onto her body, "Trump is not my effing president." Yeah, way to own us. Way to own us. Yeah, he's not your president. He bet he is. And now he is a piece of you forever. You have tattooed him onto your body like he is your husband. You just cannot make up this sort of lunacy. Anyways, you guys, getting into more of your comments, I wanted to pull this Manect comment because it was crazy. I've heard this now several times. You know how you hear about people first and foremost getting divorced over weird issues, but look at what this woman wrote to me. Do you have that up, Skylar, from Manect? She wrote, "Hi, Candace. I hope this message finds you and yours well. How do I start this? Okay, so I grew up going to Catholic church, but in my early 20s, I stopped attending Mass. I've been on a spiritual journey recently, and I'm feeling called back to the Catholic Church. I was going to attend Mass tomorrow. I told my husband and he got kind of upset. He said that he is not going to be married to a Catholic. He said that his mother wouldn't allow it and that being Catholic would be blasphemy. I didn't know how to respond to him, so I just said, fine, I won't go. I tend to stay quiet in disagreements because I'm always the bad guy in the end. I was looking forward to attending Mass. Now I don't know what to do. I feel so lost and heartbroken. He has agreed to go to church, but it can't be Catholic. It has to be one that he agrees to. What would you do in a situation like this, or how would you respond?" So I was able to respond to her. By the way, that's the Manect app where you can pay to send me a text and I just answer you on a voice note. But I do want to say at the same time, I had somebody in my life who was saying that similarly her husband wanted to divorce her for voting for Trump. Like, she really was voting for RFK, believed in health stuff, but her husband wanted to divorce her for this. And in both situations, you kind of have to break off the part about what you're arguing about and actually get to the root of what the problem is here. The problem here is that any person that's using divorce when you have a disagreement as well, I want to break up, or I'm not going to be married to you because of this, or I don't want to, I don't want to be with you because of this one thing. That in and of itself is just the most unhealthy form of communication, that you actually have to get back to realizing that you guys don't know how to communicate, right? You can't have a lingering threat of divorce every time an issue comes up in your marriage, whether or not it's an issue regarding faith, which hopefully would be a conversation that you would have before you got married and would establish what you believed in. And also you grow and you change, and you have to be able to communicate with your spouse about these topics without them threatening divorce. And then when you add in elements like politics, you add in elements like this, and you hear people just hitting that button so quickly, it really is a sign of the times. And so I just wanted to bring that to people's attention, is that too often I think people run and don't know how to communicate and don't know and instantly want to talk about breaking up. And if you are a Christian, and it sounds like your husband is saying, that he is a Christian, it's very unusual that you would run to thinking that you would end your marriage before allowing your wife to go partake in Mass. So very interesting. All right, some of your live comments that are coming in right now. Let me scroll and find you. We have L.I. Tar, who writes, "I was so sad last week because I didn't get to watch Candace while on vacation, but it was okay. Now I get to binge Candace." Yes, you can just play catch up. Sarah writes, "They are censoring anything that is true." Yes, that has been their strategy, but the strategy has failed. And the issue of transgenderism proves that, because they censored hard on that. Also, the issue of health has proven that, because they censored hard on that. And it shows that censorship does not actually work. What it actually creates is a silent majority. And now they don't know what to do about this silent majority, because now that silent majority has power. It has the House, it has the Senate, and it has the Oval Office. Marc writes, "Cook them, Candace." I will, Marc. Rules as follows, writes, "That hat has for love it." Oh yeah, so many comments in the chat about this hat. I told you guys, we've been selling these on our website. Head to clubcandace.com. I think we are only selling them until the end of next week before they're going to be discontinued. So you might want to head today. It might actually be earlier. It might be Wednesday. So you might want to head today if you have not yet been able to snag you one. Oh yes, look, and there's also a beanie. Here, I'll try this on live. Is my hair all crazy? Let me try it on. I haven't actually tried on this beanie. Oh, my head is a little tight. Oh, it's so cute. Look at this Christmas beanie. We also have it in beanie form. There we go. Oh, wrong way. And okay, my producer says we actually only have these until Tuesday, so you're going to have to buy these. Absolutely going to have to do this now. Head to clubcandace.com if you want to buy that, as well as these mugs that I'm holding here, which say 47, and then have our celebrity tiers. Don't worry, it won't have my lipstick on it when you buy yours. But we've got LeBron James, and we've got J-Lo, and we have got Cardi B on these mugs. I love when you guys tag me when you unbox them. I love a good unboxing, so be sure to tag me. This person writes, "Candace, will you cover fluoride on A Shot in the Dark?" Absolutely. Everything that you've heard about fluoride is not conspiracy. It is true. Ash Bash writes, "Candace, what is your favorite conspiracy theory?" Definitively the moon landing. I do not believe in the moon landings. And here's the thing, you will get there very quickly if you keep watching my show. Once you start to realize about Freemasonry, the history of the Apollo program, the literal satanic history of the Apollo program, you can go back and watch that episode on NASA Origins. I think it's like, it's got to be like within the first 10 episodes of this show. Go back and listen to that. And yeah, I think that was all about just trying to conduct a huge science scam to withhold technology from us in the future, but also create NASA. It's just got to be the most successful money laundering program of all time because nobody knows what the hell they do. But they get billions every year. I wonder, really, we should look that up next week, Skylar, how much money we have given to NASA. It's like, well, we went to the moon in 1969, so don't ask any questions about what NASA does. Yeah, I'm not a big believer in the moon landing. I'm not a believer in the moon landing at all. Scad Kui writes, I got no question today, just sending love. Can we get a love you back in a Kamala accent? I love you back, always. And also, Scad writes, joined locals today to support your journey. Looking forward for the exclusive content. And you guys, here is the link if you would like to support us on locals. I actually really like this beanie. Wow, right? It is really serving. I think I'm going to wear this. It's getting cold. Buy yourself a made Kamala Indian Again beanie. Support the show on locals because we remain demonetized on YouTube, but it's okay because we are having fun and we love you. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.